Hey, cheers. So we got a cup of coffee in front of us, Baltimore Coffee Company. This is the beginning. Yeah.
Today you get to start us off, Dario.
Oh, dang. Okay, all right. So, yeah, all right. We're recording, but yeah, thank you.
I printed that for you.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I just had Bucknell on my mind. I saw the email, so we'll kick it off. Good morning. Gosh, we got Friday the 22nd, August. School has started. Something near and dear to me, and it's football. So we got a special guest, Frederick High football coach. Jeez, I can't wait to get in touch, but go ahead.
It's actually Governor Thomas Johnson.
Excuse me.
In Frederick.
In Frederick.
Yep.
Thank you for the correction.
All good.
But is it Beau?
Yep. Beau Traber.
Traber. Okay. And so just a little background, Beau. Chris and I grew up together, and one day we just decided, hey, we're going to do a podcast together. And, of course, now it's very, very popular.
Oh, yeah.
And I think one way to get to the community at large is to be able to bring people in who are doing things that they're passionate about. So quick backdrop is my wife had shouted out to me like, hey, there's this thing on Facebook about some of the kids at schools that need help. And you stepped in to help a wonderful school, wonderful community. And I was like, God, what do I need to do, babe? And she was like, well, just go to this site. I think it was on Facebook, if I'm correct. Yep. And you could talk a little bit more about that. And by the time I tried to help, I mean, good Lord, everybody had chipped in and did what they needed to do, which was beautiful, which was amazing. So I'll let you talk a little bit more about that. But, you know, as far as what you're doing at the high school, I'd love to hear more about that. And then if you could, can you hear that? We good?
Yeah.
All right, sweet. Chris and I, a couple things that you think are important for the community to know as well,
sure.
Right? And so our main for me is about helping our youth, more specifically young men who are going to grow up, and how do they give back and do good, you know, for our society.
Yep.
And then Chris is really huge on leadership and what he's giving back. And that's really, really important to him. So the couple things that we'd like to cover is creating goals and how you do that, how you got to where you are today, and what you think is, like I said, really, really important. Chris, anything you wanted to add?
I've got a lot. But just starting off, I mean, like Dario mentioned, as we started down this path and decided on what our focus was, he's very focused on youth, young men, next generation. My background has just always been in leadership, growth, development. And so just bringing that all together is really what we've been doing.
Awesome.
And so far, I mean, we've been doing this for maybe 6 months, practicing, getting better. We had a guest a couple weeks ago.
Bills fan, by the way.
Bills fan.
Talk a little about that. Okay.
And just it was a completely different topic. You know, we had him on. He had suffered a stroke at a young age. It taught him to kind of slow down, not focus on work, focus more on family and so forth. So we just enjoy being able to have such a wide range of different topics. Cool. What's interesting is the people that want to help. I mean, we were sitting in here having coffee one morning, recording an episode, and this guy came up and was like, "What are you doing? How can I help? How can I participate?"
Cool.
And so he was on, and then Dario's been talking about you for a while, and so just happy to have you, happy to be able to get you on.
Yeah, man, exciting.
And then just I've got a lot of questions, so I'll hold them now.
Yeah. Well, tell us about you, man. Let's kick it off, because it's really about you, man.
So I moved to Frederick about 4 years ago. And a pretty fun story. It was during COVID. Me and my wife, we bought a short school bus that we converted into an RV. And we just kind of bounced all around Maryland and checked out all the different towns and spent a couple of weekends in a couple of different places. We found Frederick, absolutely loved it. Slept in the parking lot right in front of Rockwell Brewery in the park, or in
like
the
old school, on East Street.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Went to Oscars, which is still one of my favorite restaurants here now. So
great location, big shout out.
Yeah. So we we hung out here for the weekend. Went up to Gambrel and hiked, and met a bunch of people, and had a great weekend here, came back another weekend after, and we were like, oh, you know what, this is an awesome community. We would maybe love to settle down here. So a couple months later, we were living in the bottling plant, and then we bought a house a couple years ago, and now we're settled in here and love being a part of the community, want to be here long term, and have just really enjoyed our time here.
What in the world got you? It sounds like outdoors is important to you, which is part of the bio.
Yep.
But what in the world did you two say to each other, like, let's get a bus? What was that conversation like?
Yeah, I had to do quite a bit of convincing.
Right.
Came from me for the most part. But once I convinced my wife of like, hey, it'd be great for just any weekend. We can go take the dogs anywhere we want. We can go explore nature. Everything's shutting down right now in COVID. So like, this is the perfect time to go do it. We were lucky enough to have 2 jobs that were both flexible with us, where we could work from home and kind of go experience some of that.
Okay.
So yeah, it worked out great.
Yeah.
And funny story how it worked out. We were starting to just like look around to see what we wanted to do, if we wanted to get an RV, if we wanted to get a schoolie. And we found the school bus that somebody was selling, and it was in North Carolina, out in the mountains. Somebody was selling it. He converted it completely himself, and it was like a big community where like everybody lived in school buses.
No.
So they had their own windmill there on their water. They had solar powered everything. Yeah. And then like there was just a whole community of people living in short school buses, big school buses, all through this like.
Were they all yellow?
Yeah. The dude made them all. He was like,
no, he didn't.
Yeah, he.
Oh,
he,
sweet.
Yeah, he did everything inside of them. Revamped them all. So and they were great too. They obviously worked like off the land and everything. So they like converted a couple of like trees that fell on their property, and they carpenteried them into the the beds that were inside of the buses and all that. So it was a really cool experience, and it was a really really special little project that we had too, and we got to go experience a lot of places and things, and that's what led us here, which was really cool.
That's beautiful. So,
well,
glad to have you here.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Chris, I know you had some questions, but I'm
good.
We're flowing. Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about your youth, when like you grew up. You were saying a little bit before the kickoff here that you grew up in a certain area in New York, and then.
So and part of the reason why I wanted to come and like find a good community and settle into somewhere was because I had a pretty chaotic childhood. I grew up in Rochester, New York. Ended up moving to Oklahoma right before 8th grade. Went to high school in Oklahoma. I ended up emancipated from both my parents, so I ended up living with my guidance counselor. And then went to Pennsylvania for college on a football scholarship to Bucknell. And then, since then kind of bounced around for my job, bounced around for my career, for my wife's career, things like that. So there was always a time where we wanted to put our roots somewhere, find a community, find a place that we could give back and really try to impact that. So we were kind of at a great place where we were back in Maryland, where her family is. She grew up in Bethesda.
Oh, she did? Okay, cool.
In Gaithersburg, Bethesda area.
Oh, geez.
And so we got kind of back into the area. We were in Arlington, Virginia, and that's when COVID happened and everything went remote. We're just in a good spot of like, all right, well, you got a lot of flexibility right now. Let's go figure out what we want to do.
Wow.
We both grew up in Gaithersburg.
Yeah, yeah. That's where our roots. So I was just talking to. I'm going to say this out loud just because I have to give a shout out to Oakdale football.
Oh yeah.
So my boys play my youngest plays in their junior league, and he's done it since he was playing flag. Nice. But anyways, when you say Gaithersburg back in '97 when we graduated, '94 we championship, nice. Year, beautiful. I never played football. I have no clue, what it takes. So I'm eager to learn about that. But the other thing is I just want to know one thing. How in the world did you meet your wife? Like, what was that like? I mean, like, just double click on that for me real quick.
Well, so when I was in college, all right, I was, a 230-pound middle linebacker.
Nice.
Had a shaved head and a mustache, and was just trying to be as ridiculous as possible for the most part.
Right.
And somehow she saw that, and she was like, "That's my type. I love that."
Man, okay, yeah.
So the actual story is pretty funny. We were in a class together when I was a sophomore, she was a freshman, and it was like 8 in the morning. I was just coming from morning lifts in the spring, and like every day I'd come in there and just instantly put my head down and fall asleep. And she was like, "Oh, this kid's an idiot.
Yeah.
Like, I never want to talk to this guy. Like, stay away from me, right?" Like, her one friend was like trying to kind of flirt with me, and she was like, "Please, that guy's bad news. Leave him alone," right? And then 2 years later, we kind of come back together because our other friend groups had kind of become close again. So, and then she was like, "All right, maybe this guy has a little bit more to offer than falling asleep in the back of a psychology class."
You were a little more mature at that time.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
She just saw me in a different light, I think. I had just recently gotten my dog, which is a 6-pound Pomeranian. So
nice.
I'm sure that kind of softened my edges.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's put you in a good light.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
So, one of the things that I first saw that I thought was interesting is you mentioned your dad, you mentioned your parents separating, and you mentioned being raised by your guidance counselor.
Yep.
So one of the things we talk about that is so huge is just mentoring, and oftentimes filling a void. We talk about filling a void of a father figure, just as especially young men and youth, the way things are today. We had a topic recently that we are very interested in is how do people become open to mentoring from someone outside of a father figure. So, I mean, for you to get in that, to have that opportunity and be raised by a guidance counselor.
No, that's a great question, and that's something that I am trying very hard to kind of also navigate with the kids over at DJ as well. Because a lot of them are in a very similar situation where they could very much use a mentor, could use some leadership, could use some guidance, but a lot of times they don't know how to ask for help. They don't know how to trust somebody. They don't know how to, navigate that at all. And it is difficult. And I think one of the things that I try to push really hard on the kids is one, communication, right? Just to be able to be an advocate for yourself, to be able to properly communicate your problems and your issues and exactly what you need. I think that's a skill that needs to be developed. And I do think that youth sports is huge for developing communication. There's not very many times, especially nowadays in the world we live in with social media and the internet and all that, where younger kids are forced to interact with adults and forced to ask for things and to ask for feedback and to take that feedback, right? That's not their direct family member, their direct teacher or something, and sports does that. You're going to go be a part of a team where you fill different roles, and you're going to have different coaches that are different people with different personalities and all that are going to give you that feedback, and it's a building up that skill of the back and forth of communication and providing, someone provides something for you and you telling them what your needs are. And so I think that youth sports are so huge for getting you out of those comfort zones and being able to talk to adults and being able to kind of have those more adult conversations. And I think because of that opens up the door a little bit for, I will accept your guidance. I will, be a little bit more open to what you're saying, because I've dealt with adults in the past that have only been in my life to try to benefit me and have only tried to give me feedback and have only tried to guide me correctly, right? So I think that getting used to that at a young age is something that will help you as you go forward.
That's powerful.
And what we've talked about is what is it on the other end that helps strengthen it. And it's the trust, it's consistency,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's interesting with the youth and advocating for themselves. I have a 17-year-old son. He's played baseball all his life, from Little League, high school, travel, everything. And, we've always pushed him to advocate for himself. And it's one of the things, he's somewhat got some social anxiety, but it's also, I think, a part of what has happened with the generation where moms and dads, a lot of times moms,
Yeah.
want to advocate for them.
Yeah.
They
Absolutely.
call them helicopter moms and
Yep.
Or Zamboni
parents,
moms.
right?
Or parents.
Yeah,
in
and
general.
and I mean, you want the best and you do it, but at the same time, having them go through those experiences and being uncomfortable and having those conversations, we've pushed my son so much. It was interesting. So my dad's in town right now, and my son works at a golf course, and so I said to him yesterday, I was like, set up 9, let's take Grandpa out, and he can see your course. Let's go play golf. And he's like, all right, text my boss, and I'm like, what? This is your golf course. This is your job.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
get free golf. I don't get free golf.
Right.
And he's adamant. He's like, all right, never mind, we won't play. And when he came home from work, I was like, you have got to be kidding me.
Yeah,
Like,
you got to be able to ask for those things,
that's
right?
bullshit.
Yeah.
And so we had a conversation, and so he came off it, and he texted his boss, and of course they love him at work, and they're like, yeah, great,
Sure,
yep,
yeah.
go for it. But it's just I'm trying to get him to make that. What's crazy though is once he does it, he speaks so well with adults. He does so well, but
it's the barrier.
I'm just
to get
trying
through
to get him
Yep.
to come out of that shell to take the initiative on his own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I think part of that, too, is, like, you just got to be afraid, not afraid that sometimes the answer is going to be no. And then you got to just understand that,
that's a good point.
you got to move
Yeah.
on from that. And I think that also is something that, youth sports teaches you as well, is that, like, you had a bunch of expectations that things were going to work out a certain way, and then it didn't work out that way. And now what? The world's not over. You got to wake up the next day.
Right.
You got to go still see your teammates, the next day. You got to still have that conversation with the coach about what happened.
Yeah.
And, like, that, you grow up quicker doing that, I believe.
Yeah.
I really do. And I think those experiences help you deal with the real world.
Absolutely.
So, I'm such an advocate for sports. I'm such an advocate for adults who have the time to be able to give back through sports and just be that consistent person and try to help out on things like that. So, I'm huge on that. It's a big part of who I am and what I'm trying to, push out there.
Yeah, and I keep, because I keep telling him, I didn't get where I am by just things falling in my lap. I keep explaining to him, you don't get anything you don't fight for. I mean, there's been so many experiences in my life where I might think I have it good, and I'm still pushing for something more.
Yeah.
And just trying to get it. One other thing that I think is, and I had it as a question for you, but just to me, the other part of it is the trust and consistency to be mentored, but to be coachable.
Yep.
What makes someone coachable, and how can young men be coachable?
Yeah, that's a tough question, to be honest with you, because Dario, you're in sports and helping coach out, right? Like the kids just have such different personalities, and they're coming from such different backgrounds, and they're coming with different baggage and different expectations and all that, and I really think like the pushing the team aspect, right, and pushing like the like we're all doing our part and doing our job to kind of do for the greater good and push things forward like together.
Yeah.
I think that really pushing that aspect of it and kind of getting away from the individuality part of it is what helps kind of be coachable, because you are understanding that you are part of something bigger, that you are just one step in multiple people taking steps so that you can get to where you need to go.
Yeah.
And so again, I don't know. I think it's something that obviously it helps you be more amenable to it when you start playing sports younger and you start having different experiences when you're younger. And I hope that's something that parents do with their kids to get them involved in different things, to get them a little bit in not in uncomfortable situations, but just unfamiliar situations that kind of break them out of their shell and kind of learn about different things. And so
what led you to your role as head coach? Like how, you said it's volunteer and you're not even a teacher. I mean, I love that, man. I really do. That says a lot about you.
Well, I've had a lot of people in my life at different times through my chaotic different childhood that were mentors for me and that were consistent people for me and that didn't want anything from me. They just wanted to give back to me and be a good person. So I just have always kind of strived that I would like to be able to give that back to people if I could. Because I truly, speaking of my guidance counselor earlier, like I truly don't know what my life would be like if my junior year she didn't, take an interest in me and try to help me out with the school programs and get me fed and then get me housed, and then eventually I ended up living with her and her family. So
That's amazing.
Yeah, and she again, she did it out of complete goodness of her heart. The story of me meeting her was truly, I was at my wit's end. I wasn't eating. I was like out of my parents' house. I was just kind of like bouncing around and trying to figure it out. And I literally walked down the guidance counselor hall. Norman North, my high school, is a massive high school. So there was like 20 guidance counselors walking down this hall. And I just walked down the hall and looked at each one of them to see which one looked the nicest. And then went back into her room, and I was like, hey, anyway, I could talk to you for a second. And she was like, sure. And I come in and shut the door. And I came in and shut the door. That was the first time I met her. I just kind of was like, hey, I just, again, one of those things where you just got to advocate for yourself, right? I walked in there and sat down, and I was like, hey, I don't know where to turn right now. I just need some help figuring out what programs are out there that could help me right now. Here's my situation. This is what I'm trying to do, right?
16, 17 years old, right?
Yeah.
Man, and to advocate like that for yourself.
And it was just kind of, I didn't know where to turn. I didn't know what I didn't know, and that's like what a lot of people are like. And when you're in your youth, right? Like, you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what's available to you, how things can become available to you. So I truly just sat down there and was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go from here. And again, goodness of her heart, she was like, I'm gonna dive into this and do everything I can. She got me into the free lunch program. She got me into got me food stamps. She got me set up with a group that helped me get like clothes and stuff like that. So and then it eventually helped me become emancipated so I could start getting benefits on my own. And then it helped me get recruited. Once I was getting to the end of it, she was like, yeah, I'll pay to get your college tapes made and sent out and all that. So,
oh, smokes. You did that back in the day?
She did.
Nice.
Yeah. So
you said tapes, so she video recorded you.
Yeah,
Like
I had to go from, I think that was my senior year was the first time I had a DVD sent out. I sent out a VHS still. So
yeah. I thought that was like new, but that's like probably old school.
Well,
like.
I was also in Oklahoma too, so they took things real serious.
Okay. Oh, gotcha.
Yeah,
okay.
We had like 40,000 people at our first game each year.
Wow.
It was crazy.
Holy cow.
No way.
Yeah, we played on OU Stadium against our rival the first game of the year every year. We would have like.
Man, I hope you bring that
40,000.
intensity up here, partner.
It was crazy.
Yeah, that's sweet.
You know what's interesting? I struggle sometimes when I think back. So I went through somewhat of a similar situation. It's interesting how people work, because
Own it, baby.
I feel like I had so much. And we talk about being privileged often.
Absolutely.
I feel like I had so much, but at the time, when you're young and immature, you don't really understand it or appreciate it.
Sure.
And I went through a very similar situation to where I just was like, I didn't know where to go, didn't know what to do, and I dropped out of high school.
Yeah.
So, I mean, my mom, I didn't have my dad, I had my mom, but just I feel like I had so much more than others, but still didn't appreciate it, and I feel like for a long time, I threw it away, right? I dropped out of high school, and I didn't necessarily threw it away, but from a young age, I wanted to just get away from school, and I wanted to work. I always wanted to work. I always wanted to make money. It's just interesting. Thankfully, you had that conversation with someone I never did, rather than having that conversation, I guess really, if I look at it, I ran from it or took a different path. But
but you came back.
20 years later, got my GED, but I've had to work.
Right. Learn from it and all those things, right? And luckily, I had a lot of factors that led to me being in that position to be able to ask for that at that point, right? Like, I had played sports my entire life. My brother was like one of the best athletes in Western New York growing up, so like everybody knew him, and I was kind of looked at like the bad athlete, you know.
Yeah.
My brother.
I think about the dynamics of that.
Was pretty crazy. So like, again, that put the chip on my shoulder. That made me motivated to try to be the best that I possibly could. And then, moving to Oklahoma, I had to completely kind of reinvent myself of like, hey, this is who am I? What am I doing? What do I care about? Right. What group of friends am I going to get involved with? All that.
Yeah.
So I got there, and like the first thing I did was like, the thing I know about myself is I'm going to go to college for football. So got with groups, got with everybody that was similar minded on that. So from a very young age, with a lot of factors, with all that, like I had a goal that I was going to get to, like relentlessly. I was going to get to college football.
So that clicked for you. That was like the one thing to hang on to for you.
Yeah,
it was like your
through
anchor.
All ups and downs,
Yeah.
and through everything, I very much had an identity of like, I know who I am, I know what I'm doing, I know where I'm going, I know why I'm going there.
Yeah.
So yes,
And you had goals.
Correct.
Goals.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I think a big thing that I learned through that whole process too, which I kind of had to look back on and learn, was I was very good at like, hey, in 6 months from now, I want my bench press to be this, my 40 to be this, right? Like, and I had a piece of paper that was on the back of my door that had all the months and the dates. So like, I had very like steps of like, hey, at this point I should be here. At this point I should be here. At this point I should be here. So I always had like a path in my mind of where I was going and what, achievements and milestones I should be hitting. And it made it easier as the rest of my life was kind of falling apart and I didn't know where I was going to sleep or when my next meal was going to come, that I still had my goal sheet. I still knew what I was doing. So, yep, right now, this me was going through a bunch, but 6 months from now, me was going to be thriving because I was still doing what I needed to do.
Man, I lacked that. I lacked that at a young age.
Yeah.
Damn.
Oh, definitely.
Well, again, it was a bunch of circumstances that kind of led me to be who I was, right? Again, my older brother being such a good athlete and me looking up to him so much and not having any other male, role models in my life growing up besides him. And then he got hurt and didn't work as hard as he could have to get to the level that he was supposed to. So like I learned that lesson right away.
Yeah.
Like, better work hard, right?
Why didn't he, you think? Why?
You know what? It's again probably a lot of factors. One, my dad played professional baseball.
I saw it, right?
Yeah.
Orioles for a little while.
Yep.
Get out, man.
Yep. And he was not a part of our lives at all. So he was just kind of like a ghost in the distance of hey, he played pro. Like, what about you guys? So
wow.
And we grew up with my single mother who was, we were in pretty poverty, and she was also kind of like, hey, sports is a great path to get out of here as well, right? So we put we hung all of our hats on that sports ring for the most part.
So you had an older brother.
Yeah.
Was that it?
Yep.
Just you and your older brother?
I have a half sister as well, but she's 14 years older than me.
Okay.
And she's a huge part of my life as well. And
cool.
She helped raise us as well.
Nice.
I actually consider her probably like one of my best friends. She came to my bachelor party.
Where's she at now?
She's a beast. She's a firefighter up in Western New York. She's up in Rochester.
Nice. Nice.
We call her Grandpa Leisha. She's like a carpenter. She's a hunter. She's a hiker. She's a fireman.
She does it, man.
She
can run.
Yeah, she's a grown man.
Oh, that's cool.
That's awesome. What part?
That is
what
awesome.
What part, if any, but what part of your life, or raising you, or mentoring you, or just what part did your brother play? Did he? Can you say a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. He played a huge part. For one, like I said, he was my biggest role model. He was everything I wanted to be. We again, a little chaotic in our childhood. We moved around a lot. Every time we moved somewhere, like, he was the best player people knew about him before he got there. Like, he was on all the all-star teams. His name's Traber. Like, it's pretty hard to not know.
Dang. Yeah. Right? That's smooth, man. Yeah.
So yeah, he was a beast, and he had big shoes to fill.
Right.
And like I said, he probably didn't reach his potential because, again, we had just a lot of rough environmental factors. We were going through a lot. We were moving around. He didn't have that. That goal that I had. He didn't have that chip on the shoulder. Things didn't. I say it a lot. I talk about kind of my upbringing, his upbringing, all that. Like, we experienced things at such different times. We were only 3 years apart, 4 grades apart, but we saw things at such different times in our development. We experienced things at such different times in our development. And those things, environmental factors matter. They absolutely matter, right? And so he just didn't live up to the athlete that he probably could have. And again, that was a lesson that I learned real early of like, hey, I'm not going to let this go to waste. And pretty cool too, we moved from Rochester to Buffalo going into my 6th grade year. And it was a town called North Tonawanda. They were a great football school. Had a bunch of players that went D1AA, D2.
Nice.
A bunch of kids that went to school. And when I moved there, I truly saw for the first time what putting in the work actually is. And I was in 7th grade riding my bike over to high school workouts in the morning before school, and my brother wasn't going to those workouts, right? So,
yeah.
So a couple things. This is awesome.
Go.
So, one, when I was coming up, I was in 8th grade, and I had a buddy of mine who was like, I had half brothers and sisters, a lot younger.
Yep.
And I was always more of like the leader. But I was always focused on girls, cars, drugs, partying,
Sure.
Yeah.
nothing else.
Yep.
I love
And
the
I had
partying.
and
the
this
stuff.
was starting in 6th, 7th grade,
Yep,
right?
yep.
So 8th grade, I had a good friend of mine who was like, "You're going to play football. You're going to play football with me." And so he got me to join the local like little league. But I mean, I know it may not be that different, but 25 years ago, 30 years ago, or whatever, it was a big deal, like playing
Sure.
little
Oh,
league,
yeah.
and
Oh,
the
yeah.
coaches that coached little league were no bullshit. And so we tried out, we played, and I just got my ass handed to me. I was little.
Sure.
I always wanted to be a quarterback. I tried playing wide receiver. I was fast, but I just got my ass handed to me.
Yeah.
I also was not tough. I mean, I was raised by 2 women. I was not
Yeah.
tough. Not
Right.
that that's a bad thing,
No,
but I mean,
no.
I just was raised a completely different way,
Sure.
right? We had a guy. We talk about this all the time. We had a guy on our team. He grew up in a different neighborhood than us, right? But he would show up at practice every day. He never had his parents. He always rode the bus.
Yeah.
He
And he came to practice with
knew.
intensity.
He knew.
Yeah.
He had an older brother who was amazing at sports. They both were, and I have to imagine a lot of what drove that was they came
Yeah.
up playing sports.
Yeah, you learn those lessons.
But that guy rode the bus to every practice, to every game, or he would get rides. I never once saw him with family,
Yep.
ever.
Yep.
Yeah.
Same type of thing.
Fierce
and,
dude.
and I always tell Dario, I would love to interview him now and just
Right.
say like, what? Say
We're gonna go
what
find
the
him.
hell?
Yeah,
what
yeah,
the
we gotta
hell
find him.
instilled that
Yeah.
in you.
Yeah.
You know?
And I saw examples of that as well. Like my mom was involved in our lives growing up and stuff. She, would take us to all these practices. She was driving us all around, all this different stuff. So like, and she cared about it. She
Yeah.
knew if we played well or if we played bad. So like, I did have that support. I did have her, that would talk to me after
Good,
games.
good.
And so I did have like people in my life. My brother again was in my life. He
Yeah.
was someone that I could talk to about those different things too. So
Big
again,
shout out to the women in the world.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Something else I mentioned I had 2 things. So the other
Yeah.
thing was this. The other thing that I find interesting, maybe it played a part in your guys, the differences, I don't know, but in my life. So my son, 17 years old, very smart kid, from a young age, very smart. It's just come naturally for him. My daughter, 14 years old, when she was young, we noticed she would be sleeping and she would snore. It would sound like the roof was coming off.
Nice,
And I
man.
would hear her stop
know a good
breathing.
shingles guy.
I would hear her stop breathing many times throughout the night because
Oh,
she
rough.
would snore so hard
Yeah.
and then and at the time we were like, I have no idea what is going on. And we noticed that her memory was really bad. She wouldn't remember family members' names.
Oh,
she
wow.
was 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, wouldn't remember family members' names, wouldn't remember anything.
Wow.
So we took her to the doctor, and the doctor was like, for one, get a sleep study done. So we get a sleep study done, find out during the night she stopped breathing like 14, 16 times. And what they told us was with sleep apnea, when you don't sleep deep, your brain never rests and you won't retain things.
Great.
So what's happened with her from a young age is she didn't have her memory wasn't good because of that. So we got her tonsils adenoids removed, and it helped. But she's had to work harder for everything. And I wouldn't say not as smart, but just she's got dyslexia.
Yeah.
She just had to work harder
Yeah.
than my son. The interesting thing is my daughter has that resiliency.
Right.
She will not take shit from anyone.
Right,
She's
yeah.
14 years old.
Yep.
If we left tonight and said we won't be back till tomorrow, she'll be fine.
Yeah,
My son
yeah.
would be like, bro, if I don't have something to microwave, what am I going to eat?
Yeah,
And he
yeah.
would go in the pantry. But
Yeah,
it's
no,
interesting because it's
resiliency
almost
is
like
learned.
your brother, it was like a given your brother was good. And for you, it was like you had that fight in you,
Yep.
whereas others might just think
Yeah.
it comes to them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, without a doubt, I absolutely agree with that. And
Sorry, it took me a long time to get
No,
there.
no,
But
no.
No, that's all good.
It's for sure. I do think that again, like those things are learned attributes. They really
Yeah.
are, and they are things that can be improved and that can be built upon. And I absolutely contribute. Like I had a lot of good environmental things happen to me. I mean, maybe not good necessarily, of like, you know, being homeless and all that, but like those hit me at times when I had to make pretty, you know, critical decisions about what my next step was going to be, who I was going to be, who I was going to associate myself with, what relationships I was going to have, right? How I was going to identify. So like, yeah, those things really made me kind of grow up and at least think about those things a little bit more. And a lot of times kids don't have to think about those things, you know, good, bad, or indifferent. Like, a lot of times you are protected and you are kind of just like going through the world with like a little bit of ignorance, which is, you know, can be a good thing. But yeah, when I always, my guidance counselor, when she took me in after we had kind of started getting close, and she was helping me out and stuff, she had just always said, like, you just never really had a chance to be like a kid, like, you know what I mean? Like, I was never naive. I was never like, you know, happy-go-lucky. I was there like grinding, trying to make decisions, being like, all right, can I trust this person? Is this person gonna help me? So like that, those things harden you, and they make you think about things differently. They really do. Yeah. And if you, and you know, I try to use that perspective when I'm dealing with kids in TJ and kids all over, right? And people all over, is they're coming from different places. And, you know, some of these kids are coming from places where they don't have, you know, the consistency or any of these things. So it's, you know, what are their values? What are they trying to think about, right? Like, you have no idea. You have no idea sometimes. So.
I want to dive into that real quick, if you don't mind.
I want you to know something, just so it's not weird.
Yeah.
At some point, I'm going to take a couple pictures, but while we're talking.
Yeah,
so I just don't want you to think I'm weird, okay?
Yeah, all good.
He is a little weird. I still love him, man. Two things is, one, okay, now you're the coach of a football team.
Yep.
So you're working with coaches, and then you're also working with the youth. When you're working with the coaches, how do you work with them to say, okay, we have these things that these kids may be going through, right? At any school.
Right.
How do you coach them? Like, how do you lead them? And then with the students that you are working with, what are some of the things that you see that you say, hey, I need to not only coach and be there for them, but how do you help them become, you know, a better football player or even a better person in life?
Sure.
Know?
I guess, I think, first I'll start with the coaching answer, right?
Yeah.
Any of the coaches that are coming out there on my staff, especially, or working with me, definitely know me up front is that, like, I'm about the process. I'm about working with the kids. I'm about I'm about the mentoring part. Like, you know, if we win games, awesome, right? And we're going to be super organized, and we're going to, you know what we're talking about and why we're talking about it, and we're going to know why we're coaching it and all that, right? But like, that's absolutely second, third, fourth down the list, right? Like, the first thing is that we're going to be here for the kids. We're not going to blame them. We're going to give them a good environment. We're going to get, you know, all the positivity things on that. Yeah. And that was really like the first thing that I did when I took over the job, was like, we're going to establish a good culture. We're going to establish a place where kids want to be, and that they feel safe, and that it's not like a zone where like anyone can come out here and be a part of this. So that was my absolute first priority, becoming a part of this, because that was my priority in getting into coaching. I love football. It got me pretty much everywhere in my life, and I owe a ton to it, but I didn't really have a big passion for like going back out and like winning football games. Like, I'm
you just wanted to play and bring it.
Honestly, if I played right now, my bones would turn to dust. I'm 40 pounds less than what I was in college. I couldn't hit anybody.
And these kids feel like they're getting bigger, man. Man.
Oh my goodness, I know.
Jeez, and faster.
Right.
Wow.
So I got into this without, you know, not thinking of like the competition, the coaching part, the like, oh, I can't wait to win state championships and be, and you know, that's I could care less about that. I was truly just like, I went out there and volunteered with them for a year. I saw that were in a rough spot with equipment, with the players. They were, you know, the culture was not great. There was a lot of the kids didn't talk to each other. They weren't friends with each other and all that, right? So I did that for 1 year, and then I was like, after that season, they asked me to be head coach. I was like, yeah, you know, I'll
When was
do
this?
it.
How long ago was this?
Let's see. Well, I think it was 2022.
Okay. 2022. Okay.
So yeah, then I became the head coach the next year, and like I told them up front, I was like, I have a another job. Like, it's going to be really hard for me to make the time for this and all that. But they were like, no, like, they supported me. They had,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a lot of the
done.
teachers in TJ were on the staff, so I had like the support there and had some resources in the school. So yeah, everyone kind of was on the same page with me when I took over of like, hey, the first thing we're going to do is like hold the kids accountable in like a good way, and we're going to create like a good space where like they're going to learn like the rules of being a part of a team and being a part of a program, and when you commit to something, what you do about that, and how to talk to each other, and how to, you know, how to have integrity and what your morals are and all that. So that was my first
year.
thing. Yeah, and that's everything that I kind of wanted to do there. We did a leadership series over the summer where we would do like a presentation from each coach that would talk about like morals and different things that they cared about. Then, or like I had a coach always come up and tell a story about their life, about things that they learned. I was very, very open about my childhood and the things that I went through and all the difficulties there, so that everybody kind of knew who I was and where I was coming from. So we came right into it of like, we're going to make this a family environment. We want this to be a place where if you're a kid at TJ that has a lot of energy and wants to play a sport, like, you can come out here. There's going to be food for you. We can get you clothes. Like, you're going to have adults that you can ask for help if you want to. Like, we'll help you out, get and talk to your guidance counselor. Like, we wanted to establish that, like, 1, 2, 3, 4 there.
Yeah.
So, and that we've done a great job doing that.
That's great
amazing.
to hear. Yeah.
We went from, so what, I guess it was 2018, I think, TJ's football program actually, they had, or 2019 maybe, they shut down the season because they didn't have enough players.
Oh my gosh, are you serious?
Yeah. And then they went 2 years in a row of 1-9, I believe. And then the following year was my first year there.
Yeah.
So, and in my time there, we had like 90 players on between JV and varsity, when the first year that I was there, it was only like 45.
Get out.
So yeah, we made a lot of improvements there. We tried to bring in a lot of kids.
That's a lot of bench pressing there, man.
Yeah.
You were tracking your goals there. Good
right,
gracious.
right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's good. It's been a great experience.
So let me ask you a question. You mentioned something that I think is, I feel like so many people don't get at a young age. I didn't. I just talked to Derry about this last week. I didn't get into it much later in life. But understanding this is, when you're in the moment and you're young and you're in high school and you want to be accepted, you just want to fit in. Everything seems so huge when it's really. I mean, I say it's not.
Right. In the grand scheme of things,
right.
It's not.
Yeah. So understanding, how do we help people understand it? The process. It's a part of the journey.
Yep.
That these are all building blocks, and yeah.
It's so hard, right?
Yeah.
It's so hard because you got to think about it. You know, we're all a little bit older here, but when we were 16, we'd only lived 16 years, so we'd only known those 16 years of existence, right?
Yeah.
So like, anything that was happening to you is the biggest thing that's ever happened to you in your life. And like, the relationship you had, those were the only relationships you've ever had, right?
Yeah.
So they all were the most important to you. So I absolutely try to have that perspective coming into this. You know, these you only know what you know, right?
Yeah.
You only know what you know. And if these kids are living it, their world is their world. Their environment is their world. It's the only thing that they know. So yeah, it's definitely difficult.
Yeah.
It's definitely difficult.
I bet.
Something else. Coming up, when you have that drive and you have all these goals, it's similar to me. I think, as I left school and decided I want to work, I want to earn. I had this. I built this drive in me. I didn't have it when I was younger.
Yeah.
I didn't have good work ethic, and I feel like work ethic. In the workplace I've experienced, you can't really instill work ethic in people. If they don't have it, they don't have it.
Sure.
But I think at a young age you have the opportunity to. But I didn't have that drive, got married, had kids, and it clicked. So at a later age. Now, maybe I did have the drive. I say this, maybe the drive was there. That's why I wanted to work. I don't know. But what we always talk about is, as you get older and you have that drive in you, for me it was like, I've got to work, I've got to earn, I got to get to the next level. And then I've always said to myself, when I get there, that'll be enough.
Yeah.
And then when I get there, I'm like, okay, what's next? What's next?
Yep.
So what we always talk about is, when is enough enough? And so as you get older, and as men, you tend to think, okay, work is first before family, and you
Oh,
said it
yeah.
before, we have done it for so long and put work before, but how do you as you get older, how do you balance that?
Yeah, it's a tough question, right? And I've definitely had to deal with this more in these last couple of years as I've tried to balance a 40-hour work week with a 40-hour football coaching week.
Golly.
With I got married in the middle of the summer last year during
Congratulations.
while I was coaching and doing all that.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a balance, and it's tough, and I think a couple of things you can do to make it a more positive experience and try to kind of get your ducks in a row on all that is one. If you're in a relationship like I am, is have great communication with your partner, right? And make sure that they understand kind of what your values are and what your morals are and what you're trying to accomplish and why you're trying to accomplish it. And getting into the football, like my wife obviously has known me for a long time, knows who I am and knows what I care about and knows that I would love to give back when I had the opportunity to. So we knew, hey, this is going to be a big hardship. We're going to deal with a lot of ups and downs during this. We're going to lose quite a bit of money. We're going to lose quite a bit of time. We're going to lose all that. But it was but what's important to us, right? Well, this is important to us to give back, to be a part of the community, and in that moment, it's hard to do it. You're making sacrifices. You're not seeing your family as much. You're not going to visiting friends. You're not going to doing that fun stuff. But now here I sit and I look back at the last 3-4 years, and it's incredible. I've made so many relationships. I've had so many kids now that I've impacted, that have gone through on to college.
Beautiful.
I've made connections with the Boys and Girls Club and the Frederick Parks and Rec.
I've
volunteered.
Is that Tamika?
Yeah,
Tamika.
They're awesome lady.
She's a sweetheart.
She does so much for the community and all that. So. I would have never have met these people. I would have never had these experiences. I would have never have grown the way that I have over these last 2 years. I would have never have learned about myself and my wife and all the different things that we've gone through. So, you got to experience it.
Yeah. When you do that, so let's double click on that, right? Which is these young men. What's your coolest story? No names, right? Just to kind of keep it 30,000 foot level, you're man, that was
a success story.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, well, my first year when I just was volunteering, where I legitimately, they were in their first scrimmage, and I was just walking my dogs in the backyard, and I was watching them practice, and one of the coaches walked off, and I was like, you guys need help in any chance?
Yeah.
He was please, athletic director's number, email him, please, let us know, right?
Yeah.
So 2 days later, I was out there coaching with them. I was just all right, I'll see what I can do here, right? Yeah. So again, I kind of started with them late without really knowing what was going on or anything, and we were 2 weeks into the season already, and I pulled one of the backup running backs, backup cornerbacks, and put him over at linebacker with me. I was hey, he's flying downhill. I might as well work with him here, right?
Yeah.
And by the end of the year, he didn't play the first 3 games because he was literally backup corner, backup running back. By the end of the year, he was second team all conference. He had went to Stevenson on a scholarship for linebacker. He was 165 pounds, soaking wet, but he was right away. It was I love this. Got right into the weight room, found a passion for it, found that was a path where he could get out of it. Obviously, didn't really have the means or opportunity to really go to college on his own without getting that door opened up with sports, and it was kind of one of those things where it kind of I saw it hit him over the head halfway through the season. I'm oh wow, if I put all my eggs in this basket right now, it may open some doors. And I was yeah, let's see where it goes, right?
Yeah.
Let's not have any regrets, right?
Yeah.
And he did, and it worked out great for him. So
wow, that was beautiful, man.
Right there in that first year. So that really sparked it in me of oh wow, you can have a big impact and by
Godly.
Just doing little stuff, just being there, being consistent, just providing your feedback, providing your stories, just and then providing confidence too. That was the biggest thing too. He would have been a great running back or cornerback probably as well. It just nobody was giving him the confidence to do it, and nobody was giving him the opportunity. And just took a couple of conversations. And I think a big thing about that too in that situation was I quickly learn about his life, and learn about who he was. And I learned that he had moved there 2 years before from Virginia after one of his parents had died, and he didn't have a lot of friends there. And like, I don't know if maybe nobody had taken the time to learn that about him and help him get him introduced to the other kids. And and it just took a couple of easy little connections and a couple of little easy sparks, and then all of a sudden he's a captain by the end of the year. He's, everyone talks. So like, and I think there's a lot of kids that are like that are out there right now that have a fuse that just needs to get sparked, and they will explode down whatever path that they have a passion for, that they do care about. It will open them up a little bit to a more experiences. It just it takes that right person being in that right experience, being around the right people, being a part of the right program, and maybe it sparks something. So
I wonder, and I'm going to ask this question, and I don't know, it's such a tough one, but what does someone do who doesn't have the parent, the mentor, someone in their life to help push that? If they're on their own looking at it like almost like you were, like where do they start? What do they?
I mean, my biggest suggestion would be to go get involved in things, to get out of your comfort zone, right? I think the things that I've learned the most, and I'm sure that you guys could comment on this as well, is well, you start a new job, you go to a new school, you start with nothing. You kind of have to learn, like, what do I care about, right? And I've moved from town to town to town and been in places where I didn't know a soul, and I did it when I came to Frederick. And like each time I've moved somewhere, it's like, okay, what do I care about, right? Well, I love pickup basketball. I'm definitely gonna go find pickup basketball. All right. Well, I love, nature. Well, I'm definitely gonna find some good parks to take my dogs, right? Like you have to figure out things about yourself when you're uncomfortable. And I think that like on a lower level, like my mom put me in gymnastics when I was young. I was a little bowling ball in a singlet rolling around on a mat looking like an idiot. And like,
I did gymnastics too. I forgot about that.
Man, that's nice.
So like, it's me and 14 little girls in there, and I'm like, all right, I hate this.
That was a little too early, too premature. Right? You were waiting for later down the road. Yeah.
But I guaranteed learned something about myself that year at being 7 years old in a singlet, being self-conscious and having a little baby fat all over me. Right? Like I'm sure I learned a lot that year. Right? And so I think there's a lot of experiences you can go do where you go get out of your comfort zone, you go hang out with a different group of friends, you go, and that's another thing too, is like getting those different experiences with different people, I think is absolutely huge. Another thing that, again, just good environmental things that happened to me at different times was the first preschool I went to was like a program that had mentally disabled kids, was like 25% of the population in my preschool. So like we were, obviously we're interacting with them, we were learning with them all the time. Like I very much, that was my first introduction to people with differences. And learning that people learn differently, and like, that they still have needs. They like so. I mean, right away I learned that like that was okay. There's people that are different, and then again, going through a chaotic childhood, and then we move, and now we're in a new neighborhood, and now we move, and now we're in a new town, and so all those different things, like they harden you, and they also like enlighten you a little bit of just like learning about yourself, learning about others, and all that. And another thing on with that as well is I very much would put myself in a box growing up of like, hey, I'm a football player, I hang out with football players, like this is what we do. These are the kids who lift, these are the kids who don't drink and smoke, these are the kids, so like I would put myself in those boxes. And in college I had to learn kind of the hard way of like, there's a ton of good people out there that you're going to relate to, that you're going to learn from, that have nothing, that the things that they care about are nothing that you care about. But you're going to connect with them, and you're going to learn so much from them and all them. So like that was huge as well. And I, even with all my experiences and with all the differences of in backgrounds and environments and all the people that I've met and all that, I still didn't do a good job of like just being open to being friends with or connecting with people that just weren't living that same life that I was. So.
It's interesting you say that. I have this conversation with my son. My son, and he jokingly says this, but there's a lot of truth. I know there's a lot of truth behind it. He'll have his head down, and he's like, if I don't make eye contact, then it's almost like I don't exist, and then we don't have a conversation. And he really, I've even been to, like, I've been with him to where they meet at the high school to get on the bus to ride to a game together. I've seen it, just about his whole team. They'll get there, they'll all park in a line at the high school. They all get out, they're putting their jerseys on, they're hanging out, bullshitting together. He'll sit in his car, get dressed, get ready, and then get out and go get on the bus. And I've pushed him, like, listen. He's like, well, no one talks to me. And I'm like, I understand that, but why don't you just take the step and just say something to somebody? If you're closed off, people pick up on that. People see that you're closed off. They won't make that attempt. So I try to work with them on that. But
it's tough too. And again, it's personalities as well, right? The nature and nurture thing is absolutely true. It is definitely both sides of it. And I've again, luckily, I've always been a pretty outgoing, and I've always been super loud, very loud, talkative person. So like, it was easier to express myself for sure. And if you're not that outgoing person, it is difficult. It is. And but again, I think going through different experiences and going through different programs, meeting new people and all that, I think it does kind of open you up to maybe at least finding other people that are similar-minded to you, or finding a connection with one person that will help you connect with another person down the road, or so I think that is a positive as much as possible. Trying to just be out there and get out of your comfort zone and meet as many people as possible and experience different things and all that.
All right, I got two last questions from me. All right, one is for coaches, right? So we have 8 coaches on our team. There's a lot of barking and all kinds of stuff. And you're just like, for me, I'm very mellow. I center my chi. I'm there. Yeah. But then all of a sudden, I'll be like, "What the heck? What were you thinking?" Or like, catch with your hand. So I get passionate about that.
Yeah.
What would be your one piece of advice for coaches across the country, that are helping with youth to like stay focused on as a goal?
For
coaching.
Well, and I think especially with the youth. Right, as I think a big part of coaching is having perspective and having empathy. Right, and like, and again, having that while you are still setting a standard and setting a tone and moving things forward and saying, hey, no, this is what we expect and all that, right? But like, I think that also comes with, like, one of the things that I would tell the kids all the time is, like, hey, people have bad days, right? Like, people have things going on in their life. Like, if you come and tell us before practice, like, hey, I have something going on, I don't feel good, there's something going on with my parents, there's something going on in my personal life, I'm studying super hard for this test right now, right? You have just created a path for me to have empathy for you. I now understand who you are, I understand
that's a
what's going on
great
with you,
idea.
Right? And, like, so, yes, I will now adjust my coaching to understanding you and having that perspective that you've told me about. But if I don't know that, I am coaching the way that I am coaching. I have a standard here. We all have a standard. You are out here on the field. You are going to be a part of that standard. And if you're not, like, then there's other sports to play. And you learn that lesson here as well, right? You learn that, okay, this wasn't something that was for me, right? And
that's a really good point.
That's a great approach in any setting, even as a leader, right? In an office setting.
Yep.
Like that's a great, because we warm up and the boys would just kind of run around, which I love because they're being kids.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. And you want them.
And so they warm up now. Of course, we get it, as this season goes on or practices go on, we get that tempo going. And now you just gave me a reason to go in and say, hey, how's your day going today? Yep. And somebody may have an issue that day, and now I know, and I can understand and empathize with them. That is a brilliant.
It might even be a difference of approach at the very beginning. Hey, look,
that's what I mean.
These are our standards.
Correct.
Yeah. As a coaching staff, these are our standards. You can always expect it.
Yeah.
However, communication is key. You can always come to us. We have the conversation. These things going on in your life. Let us know that so that we can adjust accordingly.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's huge.
And then my last question is, as a father, right? So my father wasn't there for me, growing up. And I was raised by a single mother. And then I had a stepfather who's, God bless him, he taught me some good things, expectations, right?
Yeah.
As a father today, you looking like, and you just recently married, but you have a good wife at home. and she's apparently an
Awesome.
attorney.
Yeah, attorney, yeah.
And so kudos to her, and she's letting you coach.
Yeah, and she
That's
helps
amazing.
out with the team.
Yeah.
I mean, she's there driving players around as well.
Right.
Making PB&Js.
Yeah.
She's locked in.
Yeah, she's locked in. I love it. Okay, great. So, what would you say to a father today who has a son? What would you say to him? Like, what would you tell him?
Yeah. So again, I think one of the biggest things too for being a father with your son, and I don't have kids. I've just had my relationships with all of the players.
Yeah,
and
you
all
are a dad though, man.
Of over 100 kids.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, you are, man.
No, but I think kind of the same approach, right? Is with like have that empathy, have that perspective, right? Like
Yeah.
you have to know somebody to know somebody, right?
Yeah.
And you have to kind of be in their life and have to be involved with them and have to kind of understand what's going on with them. And I think that supporting people's interest and just giving them confidence and consistency and just like structure is an absolute huge thing, right?
Yeah.
Like as much as I had chaos and all that in my life, like there was always a structure of if you are going to go put your best out in a sport or in a program, like you will be supported. We will help you out in any way that we can. We will push you forward in that, right?
Yeah.
So whether that was going to be, football or gymnastics,
Yeah.
or chorus or playing an instrument, right? Like it was you will be supported if
Yeah.
you are going to go out and put your best into that, right?
Cool.
And I think that's what I also try to do with the kids. Like, hey, if you are going to follow our program's rules,
Yep.
you are going to treat everybody with respect and do the things that are right and represent us correctly.
Yeah.
Like, I am here for you 100%.
Yeah.
Like, I am here for you 100%. Inside of school, outside of school, inside of football, outside of football. Like, that if you are going to do these things, like we are establishing a contract that we are here for each other and we are doing this together.
Yeah.
And I would assume that's got to be a very similar thing with parenting, right? It's like,
Yeah.
hey, I am establishing the rules of the house. Like, these are our morals, right? But I'm here to support you as well. And like,
Yeah.
if you are going to follow these rules, if you are going to show us respect, like I am here to support you and try to help you in any way that I can as well, and love you and be here for you.
Keyword, man. Love you.
And something that I'll take as a win as a parent. You always, there's no roadmap, so you always wonder whether you're doing the right thing or doing a good job. And one thing I've learned is that my son, he works at a golf course, and what he's done is he's got great work ethic, and that's built a reputation for him, right? I think that's
Great.
the other thing is,
Yeah.
as you talked about those things, we can come to that agreement. There's a level of respect. It's based off of consistency, work ethic, right? It's a two-way street.
Yep.
So when I see that, I'm giving you everything. And I say this to employees. You show me, I'll give you everything I have.
Yep.
Very quickly, I can tell if you're not.
Yep.
And if you're not, then I'm going to go to someone else.
Correct.
Right? And so I think that's something I'm so proud of with my son is that I see that ethic in him. His workplace sees it. They give him the benefit of the doubt. He's called them and been like, hey, I've got this going on today. I'm so sorry. I'm not going to be able to make it. And they're like, we understand. We get it because we know you're.
He's
Yes.
built up the relationship, right?
Yeah.
He understands it's a two-way street. He's
Yeah.
provided, he's done his job. So
So out of all this things, just a couple things that I love, and it's so important: goals, values, morals,
Yeah.
work ethic, integrity. Right? What's your definition of integrity? What's it mean to you?
Well, it's funny. When I became the head coach, you try to put out your handbook and your morals and all that, right? And I kind of had three main things that I tried to push on the kids. It was communication, integrity, and hard work, right? And we kind of tried to, anytime we'd have conversations, we kind of try to limit it through or filter it through those three things of like, hey, these are three big things that if you hang your hat on and you're a part of our program, like you will always get mentored on this. You will always try to build up your skills on these three things, like, and we'll go from there. And integrity is, the simple definition is doing the right thing when nobody's watching, right? But I think it truly is. It encompasses so much integrity. It really does. I think it's having the confidence in yourself. It's having the confidence in what you're doing and why you're doing it. It's understanding how you're impacting others. It's understanding. It's just having perspective and empathy. Like I've mentioned a couple of times here. I really do think those things kind of all go hand in hand. if you are committed to being a good person and doing the right thing, and like that is like your core values.
Yep.
Like that's integrity,
Yep.
right? Like it's knowing that I'm taking steps to doing the right thing to better myself, to better my situation, to better the people around me, to improve, humanity.
I tell our
Yeah.
employees these are the pillars of success, and it's the communication, it's integrity, it's work ethic, it's
Yep.
it's hard work, honesty. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Amazing.
and those are things that you can learn. Those are all things that you can absolutely learn if you are around a consistent adult that's doing it with you when you're young.
Yeah.
So again, youth sports and being a part of programs and being able to give back and just be that consistent person for people, like that's such a big thing. I think even when you grow up with stable parents, my wife's parents are the best people in the world. They do everything for them. They do everything for us still. They're incredible human beings. And, my wife grew up with their stability and them supporting her and them doing anything they could for her, right? And she still has her soccer coach in high school that she absolutely adored, right? And she had her, she had her acting
Other
coach
folks.
when she was young, and she had, and like those people mean something to you, and they're gonna provide something different than what your parents are. And I think that learning, like, hey, not everybody lives the same, but people can be good people can be, provide different perspective, people can live completely different from you, but also still have integrity and have good morals and still be pushing humanity forward, is a great thing that you need to learn.
Yeah. What does your school need? What do you need?
Well, we've done a great job over these last couple of years of bringing in resources and doing all that. The thing that we just really care about at TJ is just providing like the basics for kids.
Yeah.
We've been really trying hard to make sure that everybody's fed and clothed and has all those things that they don't need to ask for anything extra on that. So throughout the season here now, one of our kind of biggest needs is Thursday nights before games, we feed all the kids. So we do a big pasta dinner for JV and varsity, get everybody together for that.
Okay.
We do meals before and after every game for JV and varsity as well. So just collecting resources for all of that is kind of our next steps here. So
yeah, great.
And we are actually in the middle of a fundraising campaign for selling gold cards for the program.
What the heck are gold cards?
Yeah, so gold cards, pretty cool little discount card that a bunch of businesses, some local, some national, sign up for, and it's just essentially like a little credit card that you keep in your wallet that just has discounts that apply to all these different places.
Sweet.
Buy one, get one frees or 50% off on stuff. So we're in the middle of selling that right now. So anyone that wants to purchase that, we get I think 95% of the profit comes to
proceeds.
us.
Sweet.
So,
okay.
Really good program, and honestly, we only do 2 real large fundraisers each year, so this is one of the 2. So any support we get on that would be great.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, thank you for your time.
Amazing.
Yeah, you're doing great work.
Anything else? Anything else? You did a great job.
Yeah, well, thank you guys so much for having me. It's cool you guys are doing this and having Frederick people on and keeping it local.
Right, man.
And just so you know, right now, there's what we're doing is kind of building up, right? And so in the next couple months, we'll get all these finalized, and I'm going through and doing the editing and producing, and so it might be a little while. Our hope is weeks, but it might be a month or 2.
And keep us in tune with like where I think maybe hopefully in the future we have some of maybe your football players come on talk about their stories.
I would love that.
Yeah,
that
you know what I
really
mean.
Cool.
I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, cause we definitely we got some
that
can tell some stories.
Heck yeah.
And that's really where we're headed is we really want to get to that point to where we can bring the youth on, give them a platform.
That's awesome.
That's really where
that's where we want to do it.
That's really cool. So I again, part of that leadership program that I did each summer was I would bring kids back and then have them come and talk to the kids as well. So the kids graduated 2 years before that are now playing at Salisbury or wherever. They come back and be able to give their part of the story. They also, we had the recruiting day day where we talked about Twitter and talking to coaches and all that and building a relationship with college coaches. And then I had 4 kids that are in college come back and tell them that their recruiting stories and tell how it actually worked out afterwards. So no, that's
we can come there.
Awesome.
I mean, we don't.
I see your face light up, man. Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah, that's what it is, man.
They got the experience.
Yeah.
It's going to be so much more impactful coming from them than it is from me.
Yeah.
Let's.
Yeah,
we gotta do that.
we'll keep
I
connected.
got a lot of connections with a lot of those kids too that I'm sure would be very willing to do that.
That'd be awesome.
Got some crazy roller coaster live stories.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, could
That'd be
definitely
great.
provide some cool
Cool.
insight.
All right, man.
Good.
Well,
Thank
thanks
you,
for
man.
everything, brother.
Yeah, of course.
Appreciate it.